Hi and welcome to another card making video. Today I'm featuring the October card kit by SSS Stamp. I'm going to quickly show you what's included and then I will share 4 cards. It comes in a Ziploc bag so you can keep everything nicely organized. First of all, you get 3 watercolor cards. These are great to just watercolor and put them as card fronts. I'm focusing on these 3 cards today. I will show you a very creative way on how you can create 4 cards out of those 3 papers. You will also get 3 envelopes. Now you also get in this kit a pack of cardstock. This is all A2 cardstock. It is by SSS Stamp, lovely quality, beautiful colors, and of course great stash builders. You also get a word die that cuts out the word friend, really versatile, can be used throughout the year. You also get an embossing folder, and this is one of those really versatile ones that you can use throughout the year again. I really like versatile products that you can use no matter what season it is. You also get one of the blending brushes, and here is the stamp set full of lovely sentiments. And there is also a stencil that you can mix and match it together with those sentiments, so you can have speech bubbles or thought bubbles with the sentiments. And you also get 2 white and 1 holographic cardstock. There is already lots of inspiration using the stencil and combining it with the words, with the stamp set. So I decided today to make something completely different. I'm going to work with the watercolor papers, and instead of just coloring them and putting them on the front card, I'm going to be quite creative. I'm using my craft knife and I will go around the fox. This way I will be able to separate the wreath from the fox, and I will end up with 2 different elements and turn them into 2 completely different cards. I'm going with my craft knife around the fox. I don't try to make this cut perfect, I just want to separate those pieces for now, and then I can use my scissors and just fuzzy cut around the wreath and around the fox. I will leave a white border as I cut out these designs, which is going to make fuzzy cutting easier. And here is what I have up to now. I'm going to repeat the same process for the bunch of pumpkins and the leaves. This is a lovely composition that I like to cut out so that I can pop it on top of another card. I'm making sure that I don't mess with the title. Maybe I want to use that sentiment on another card. And this is my go-to technique when I get those printed A2 watercolor papers. I like to cut out elements so that I can pop them on top of cards. I think that this way I give more life to all those designs, and at the same time the cards become more special. Now remember, this is watercolor paper, so you can go ahead and use your watercolors to add some color there. I decided to go with my Zika brushes. I haven't used them for so long and I think it is time to give them some love. After all, they work beautifully. I'm not going to work with water at all. I'm going to blend these colors directly on top of my watercolor paper. They blend beautifully, and this is how I'm going to add the shadows and the highlights. Now, when I'm sharing lots of cards in one video, I usually video edit the coloring just because otherwise the video would be super long. However, I did leave a little bit of that footage so you can see how I mix the markers directly on top as I'm coloring the pumpkins. I did repeat the same technique for coloring everything, the leaves and the fox. And remember that these brushes blend beautifully together just because I'm working on watercolor paper. If that wasn't the case, the blending wouldn't be so seamless. So here we are with the magic of video editing. I did color everything. It wasn't really time consuming to color all of these. I'm just mainly mixing 2 colors of markers for each of these leaves and areas. Now all the hard work is done. Let's go and design some cards and put those as focal points. For the first card, I'm going to work on a black card base. So all I'm doing is adding foam tape at the back, and I'm going to stick it on top of the black cardstock. Now this is going to help those colors pop even more. They are going to seem even brighter with a dark background. Now in the stamp set you get a bunch of sentiments that you can stamp, cut out and stick on top of this card. However, I decided to go with these stickers by Team Holtz. I got this from a previous card kit by SSS Stamp, so if you are a subscriber I'm sure you have those as well. And if you want to add some sparkle, you can add some sequins or gems, copper gems like I'm doing here. Now I usually create my A2 panels and then just stick them on a pre-folded white card base, so this way I will end up having a white space inside to write my message. And here are some close-up photos on the first card for today. Moving on to the second card, and here are some little things that make me happy. I happen to have the same color of ink as my brown cardstock, so that's the one that I'm going to work with. I know that is a perfect match, however you can use any brown ink that you have at home. I'm working with a scrap piece of craft cardstock, and this is going to be the backing of my wreath. I am stamping my sentiment there. This is a sentiment from the stamp set that was included in the kit. You can also emboss it if you like. You can emboss it with copper or gold. It would look beautiful. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut out tiny little pieces and put them all around that wreath. If you want, you can use this design to create a shaker card. So you can add some acetate behind the wreath and then stick the foam tape there. However, I decided to keep it more simple, so I'm just going with the wreath as it is, just with some dimension. I'm going to use my scissors and cut out the excess, and I have a lovely focal point for the top of my card. There is already enough dimension with the wreath since there is foam tape there, so all I'm going to do is just use glue at the back and stick it on top of my cardstock. Again, if you want to add some gems, just go ahead and do that. It always makes a card extra special. And then I will glue this whole panel on top of an A2 white card base. So here are some close-up photos on the second card for today. And let's move on to the third card. This time I'm going to play with the fox. I have used the die to cut out the word friend. There are lots of letters that you can play with if you want. I decided to work with a negative this time. And I also chose this grey cardstock from the pack in the kit. I'm going to give it some interest, but at the same time keep it quite subtle. I'm going for a clean and simple look for this card. So I'm just adding some white splashes. Another way to add some subtle interest on this background would be to run it through your die cutting machine with the embossing folder that is included. Now for the back of my negative cutout of the word friend, I'm going to use some glitter silver cardstock. This is from my stash, however you can use a piece of the holographic cardstock that was included in the kit. I'm going to use my paper trimmer and cut it out, making sure that I leave a line of that silver cardstock on top and at the bottom. This is going to work as kind of a ground for my fox. I used foam tape at the back to have some dimension, then I will use my scissors to cut off the excess. And this will work as kind of a ground for the fox to stay on top. This grey panel, although it comes as an A2 card size, I did trim it down so that I end up sticking it on top of a white card base and I have some white border all around. Just like always, I finished this card off with some gems, and here are some close-up photos. And let's move on to the fourth card for today. There is a blending brush in the kit, which I'm keeping for my oxides. However, I have another set of blending brushes that I like to use with my distress inks. I am going over the whole panel with my distress inks, and I will just combine two shades of orange. I did post a video last week where I shared some of my favorite fall color combos when it comes to distress inks. I am just using a very simple one here, but you can check that out. They would work lovely for this card as well. Now I am going with distress inks instead of distress oxide inks because I'm going over black lines. When you go over black lines and you use oxides, they are going to kind of cover up the black line. It's not going to look as vibrant. It's going to end up with a chalky finish, kind of foggy. That's why I chose to go with my distress inks, the original line. So here I grabbed my circles and tried to measure which one of them would allow for the whole sentiment to show. And I'm using this dark green cardstock from the set in the kit to cut out a window. Then I'm going to deepen up the color even more by using some distress ink, which is slightly darker than the actual cardstock. And this is going to end up as a window card. However, you can easily turn it into a shaker card if you like, just by adding some acetate in between and throw in some confetti. Now all I'm doing is using one of my pencils. This is a Prismacolor pencil, which is slightly darker than the colors that I used for the background. And I'm going to color in the leaves. Very simple coloring, no shading, no nothing, just add color there to help them pop against the whole background. Really quick and easy, this one. It doesn't have to be perfect, not much of this is going to show after all. The window is going to mainly fall on top of the sentiment. So here I'm adding some foam tape at the back all around that window, and again remember this is where you may want to turn this into a shaker card. I will stick this on top of my panel, making sure that I center it on the sentiment, and I will use my scissors to chop off any excess. You can just stick this panel on top of a card front and call it done. I'm going to show you a few more steps if you want to take it a step further. And I'm bringing in my circle dies again. I will use the one that I used for cutting out the window and the one which is just bigger. I will place one inside the other and run it through my die cutting machine with that holographic beautiful cardstock, and then I will stick this ring on top of my window. This is going to give more definition and shine. I'm just tapping off the excess glue here so that I don't have any glue oozing out from the sides of the ring. If you have any leaf dies in your stash, you can cut them out from that holographic cardstock and embellish that window in one side. That's exactly what I did. And here are some close-up photos. So these were the cards for today. I hope that you had fun and that you got inspired as I was focusing mainly on the watercolor cards included in the kit. Don't forget to leave me a comment, to like the video, and also subscribe if you haven't done so already. You will find links to everything I used down below in the description area as well as on my blog. Thank you all so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope you'll all have a lovely day.